The world had a name once, but the name felt heavy now. People called it only the Forgotten World. The sky was a pale gray, as if smoke lived there. Black towers leaned like broken teeth. Wind pushed dust through empty streets, and the dust sounded like whispers. Months before, this world had been proud. It sent ships, food, and ore to the great alliance of stars. Its cities shone with blue lights at night. Children played on warm stone steps. Traders laughed and bartered in bright markets. Then the enemy came. They did not speak. They burned. They took. And when the people called for help, the alliance ships turned away. Resources are thin, the alliance said in cold voices from far away. Defense must protect worlds that still matter. The message ended. The channel went silent. That silence felt like a door closing. After that day, the world learned a new rhythm. It was the rhythm of warnings and hiding. Sirens wailed. Lights died. Families moved into tunnels and basements. Water was rationed. Food was dry and hard. The enemy fleets did not stay. They circled back, like wolves returning to test the fence. Each time the wolves took something more. Koa walked alone across a broken bridge with a coil of cable on his back. He was thin now, but his eyes were clear. He used to mend air vents and lift motors in the old factories. Now he fixed radios in the deep tunnels. The radios were old and parts were rare, but Koa kept them speaking. He believed words could still travel. He believed a voice could cross the dark. He reached the East Relay Tower. It was a black finger above the ruins. Heat had melted its metal skin and left ripples like frozen waves. Koa climbed the inner ladder, careful and slow. When he reached the top, he sat by a cracked panel and opened his bag. He took out wire, a small toolkit, and a power cell wrapped in cloth. He worked with gentle hands. When he breathed, dust rose and fell like a tiny tide. In the tunnels below, Elder Siras spoke to the people. "We hold together," she said. "We share. We keep the little ones safe. We do not let our fear make us cruel." Her hair was white, and her voice was soft, but firm. She did not promise rescue. She promised that they would not break. A girl named Yeel clutched a tin cup. She asked, "Will the enemy come today?" Her mother pulled her close. "Maybe," she said. "If they do, we will go to the second tunnels. We know the path." The mother smiled, but her eyes were tired. Hiding had become a skill, like cooking or weaving. Hiding kept you alive. Koa finished the repair at the relay and connected the power cell. A dim green light woke inside the panel. He smiled. It was a small thing, but small things mattered now. He tuned the transmitter. He sent a message in the clear, and then he sent it coded. He sent the coordinates of the shelters. He sent a list of illnesses, a count of children, and a map of the last clean wells. He did not beg. He declared, "We are here," the message said. "We endure." On the horizon, a thin shadow moved under the clouds. It was a scouting drone left behind by the enemy. It scanned and hummed. Koa kept his head low. He cut power and lay still. The drone passed. He waited until his heart slowed, then he turned the power back on. The green light returned, weaker, but alive. In the old days, the people of this world told stories about other stars. They said there was a young species called humans, small in number, restless, loud. They made mistakes. They argued. But another part of the story said, the humans had a strange fire in them. When the cold came, they lit 1,000 lamps. When a wall rose, they looked for a door, and if no door existed, they made one. Many called the story romantic or foolish. Many said humans were not strong enough to change the shape of a war. And anyway, humans were far, and the forgotten world was alone. A tremor ran through the tower. Koa looked up. The sky brightened not with sunlight, but with the shiver of a ship passing into thin air high above. It was a sleek shape, enemy design. It left a sound like a low bell. Not an attack, just a test. The wolves sniffed the fence again. Koa lowered his eyes and stared at the green light as if he could hold it with his stare. He sent another message, this time on a narrow beam. He pointed the beam at a point in space he had marked long ago when he still believed in schedules and aid routes. Nothing answered. The green light blinked and blinked. Koa swallowed his fear, because fear made the hands shake and shaking broke wires. In the tunnels, Elder Sira gathered the leaders. They opened a paper map on a crate. The map was stained and taped and loved. "We moved the food stores to the west shafts," she said. "We will not lose everything in one hit." The leaders nodded. A miner with black dust in the lines of his face said, "If the enemy burns the east shafts, we take the children through the service ducts. We tested the route yesterday." A woman with a broken sleeve cuff asked, "What of the old ones?" Sira smiled. "The old ones walk with me." In a far market square, dried fish hung in the dark like rows of little flags. A stray wind pushed them. A child stared at them and tried to remember the taste. The child had never tasted fresh fruit. He did not know the feeling of rain on open skin. He had lived his whole life under a roof. Night came early. The sky dimmed to iron. Koa's tower creaked. He sent one last message for the day. He spoke it aloud, though the radio was not alive in that way. "We are here," he said again. "We endure. We will trade coin or service for medicine. We will trade metal for clean water filters. We will help repair ships for safe passage. We will not beg. We will work. We will pay. We will not die quiet." He powered down and climbed back into the city. He moved through bones of buildings and past murals burned to scars. He found the access hatch and dropped into the tunnel, then sealed it. Warm breath and the smell of food wrapped around him. Yil ran to him with her tin cup. "Did the tower sing?" she asked. Koa laughed softly. "It croaked," he said, "but it croaked in the right direction." Sira met him near the map. "Any answer?" she asked. "No," Koa said. "Only the drone." Sira nodded. "Then we do what we always do. We prepare." Koa took a pencil and drew a new arrow on the map to show the next food move. He felt the weight of the pencil like the weight of a small promise. Deep in the night, while most slept, while a few kept watch with cold tea and red eyes, a signal touched the relay tower. It was a small touch, light as a finger on glass. The tower did not wake fully. The power cell was low. But the touch left a mark on a coil, a tremble in a wire, a pattern in a buffer. It was there, waiting, like a breath held. At dawn, the enemy scouts returned. They flew low and the city shook with their sound. People ran to the second tunnels in lines they had practiced. They carried small bags with the things that still mattered. A metal locket, a book with a ribbon, a tiny carved horse. They moved, with calm faces because panic wastes time. Koa ran the other way. He climbed to the relay to shut it down before the scouts could map its heat. He reached the top and pulled the main kill switch. The green light died. He waited, chest heaving. The scouts passed. The city settled. He stood ready to leave when he saw a faint glow from the buffer panel. That glow should not be there with the main power off. He frowned and opened the panel. Inside, a narrow strip pulsed. He tapped the strip with a nail. The strip answered with a slow beat. He connected a hand crank to wake the buffer just enough. Letters formed on the tiny screen, rough and crooked because the power was so weak. He read them once, twice, 3 times. The message was short. It was sent in an old human code, simple and direct. The words were clear. Signal received. Hold fast, do not move your beacon, we are coming. Koa's breath left him like he had been struck. He looked at the empty sky and then at the broken city and then at the tiny words. He did not shout. He did not run. He closed his eyes and let a small smile grow, careful as new fire. He cranked the handle again and sent a reply with the last turns of his strength. He sent the word that Sira had taught everyone, the word that meant more than hope and more than pride. Understood, he sent. We endure. In the tunnels, Elder Sira paused at the map and looked up as if she had felt a change in the air. Children crowded close. The scouts were gone. The silence returned, but it felt different. It did not feel like a door closing. It felt like a breath taken before a shout. Above ground, the gray sky held its color. The relay tower stood like a finger pointing into a great distance. That distance answered with a promise. Far away, beyond the thin clouds and the cold light, something changed course and burned a line toward the forgotten world. The message reached them before the dawn ended. A signal, no longer faint, no longer trembling on broken wires, but clear and sharp. It repeated 3 times in a human code. "Hold fast, we are coming." Koa did not sleep that night. He sat by the relay tower with the last battery cells glowing faint. His hand rested on the small screen like he was guarding it. He feared it might vanish like a dream if he turned away. In the tunnels below, people whispered of it. Children repeated the words like a song. Elder Sira did not allow celebration. "A message is a seed," she said. "You do not eat a seed. You wait. You water it. You see if it grows." The next day, the sky was heavy with clouds. The city was still in ruins, walls broken and streets hollow. Yet every pair of eyes lifted toward the heavens again and again. Each time a sound crossed the wind, they wondered if it was thunder or engines. The forgotten people were not ready to believe. They had been abandoned too many times. At the 4th hour, the sound came. Not the howl of enemy scouts, not the deep roar of bombers. This was lower, steady, deliberate. Koa climbed the broken bridge to see. He shaded his eyes. Through the haze, a shape descended. Not sleek like the enemy. Not bright like the old Alliance cruisers. This was blunt, broad, armored. It carried scars on its hull as if it had fought storms. Its engines pulsed with a rhythm like a heartbeat. A human ship. It slowed, settling into the upper sky. Its hull glowed red from entry, then cooled to iron gray. No banners, no symbols. Only a small mark on the side, a painted circle with 3 simple lines across it. Koa had never seen the symbol, but something about it felt alive, as if it was not decoration but promise. The people gathered at the mouth of the tunnels. They stared upward. Some held hands, some trembled. Sira raised her voice. "Stay still," she said. "Do not rush. Do not show them fear. They crossed the dark to reach us. We will not meet them crawling." A ramp unfolded from the ship. Dust lifted in spirals. The first figure appeared. It was tall, in heavy armor the color of stone. A clear plate revealed the human face inside. The man's eyes were calm but sharp, scanning every ruin as if measuring it. Behind him came more. 6, 10, then 20. Each step was steady, boots striking the ground like drums of war. The people had heard of humans. Few had ever seen one. They expected softness, youth, or recklessness. What they saw instead were faces that looked worn, carved by long journeys but unbroken. Their armor was scratched, their weapons plain, but there was a weight in their posture that spoke of certainty. The leader raised a hand, palm open. He did not shout. His voice carried with simple force. "We received your signal. You are not alone." Sira stepped forward. Her hair blew like white silk in the wind. Her voice shook once, then steadied. "All others abandoned us. Why have you come?" The human's reply was not long. "Because no one should face the dark alone. Because one world left behind today can become 10 tomorrow. Because abandonment is a wound we do not permit." No one moved. The words settled like rain on dry stone. Then a child, Yil, slipped from her mother's side. She walked forward, tin cup still in her hand. She stood in front of the armored human and stared up at him. Her voice was small. "Will you leave when they come back?" The human kneeled. His armor groaned softly. He placed his hand bare now on the ground. He let her see that his fingers shook slightly, not from fear but from the weight of his promise. "When they come back," he said, "we will be here." That night, the tunnels were filled with murmurs. The humans did not move into the shelters. They set up camp above ground, between broken walls under the gray sky. They placed sensors around the ruins, wires and beacons glowing faint blue. They mapped the ground with devices that hummed softly. Some people feared the glow might draw the enemy sooner. But Koa watched the way the humans worked, fast, precise, no wasted motion. It was the movement of those who expected war but were not afraid of it. Koa approached one of them, a woman adjusting a beacon. Her armor was open at the neck, showing a scar across her collarbone. "Why risk this place?" he asked. "Why not call your fleet first?" She looked at him, her eyes steady. "Because fleets take time. Time is what your world does not have. One ship is enough to start." Koa wanted to believe her, but doubt gnawed at him. "The enemy comes in swarms. You cannot hold against them." She did not argue, she only said, "We have held before." On the horizon, red sparks flickered. Drones, enemy scouts. They came sooner than expected, their dark wings slicing the clouds. Panic rippled through the tunnels, but above ground, the humans stood ready. They did not run. They did not hide. The leader gave a single order. His voice was calm, not raised. "Shields up." Blue light spread across the ruins, thin but wide. The drones dived, firing streams of fire. The shield caught them. The sky burned but did not break. Human guns turned upward, flashing white. One drone burst, then another, falling like dark feathers. The people watched from cracks in the walls. For the first time in many months, they saw resistance that did not bend. The humans fought not like saviors, but like partners standing in the same storm. When the last drone fell, silence rolled back. The shield dimmed. The leader lowered his weapon. He looked not at the sky, but at the people hidden in shadows. "We came because you called," he said. "But understand this. We did not come to die for you, we came to fight with you." Those words, simple and heavy, struck deeper than promises of fleets or supplies. They were an invitation. The forgotten world was not a graveyard anymore. It was a battlefield shared. Far above, in the darkness beyond sight, the enemy listened. Their commanders noted the strange resistance. They whispered to each other, "Humans." The word carried unease. And in the tunnels below, Elder Sira touched the old map with her hand. She whispered back, "Humans." The word carried hope. The morning broke with a strange silence. The sky was too clear, the air too still. People in the tunnels whispered that silence was not safety. Silence meant the enemy was near. The humans had not slept. Their camp glowed with faint blue lights. They moved like shadows among the ruins, checking weapons, placing charges, mapping routes. Every step was calm. They did not rush. They did not speak loud. It was as if they already knew what was coming. Elder Sira climbed up from the tunnels, with Koa at her side. She looked at the human leader standing on the rubble of a fallen tower. His armor was scarred, his rifle dark. He looked east into the empty horizon. "Do you feel them?" Sira asked. The human nodded once. "They are testing. They will not test long." Koa's throat was dry. "How many?" he asked. The human's eyes narrowed. "Enough to make you afraid. Not enough to make us leave." Before Koa could answer, the sky changed. At first, only small dots appeared, glimmering against the light. Then the dots grew into sharp wings and long bodies. Dozens of enemy craft. Their engines screamed, echoing through the dead city. Panic shook the tunnels. Mothers held children close. Old men muttered prayers. The people had seen these ships before, and they knew the fire that followed. But the humans did not hide. They moved into positions already chosen. They set rifles against cracked walls, placed heavy launchers on rooftops, and checked their shields. The leader raised his hand. No fear showed in his face, only focus. The first volley came. The enemy ships opened their mouths and spat fire. Red streams poured across the sky, crashing into the ruins. Stone melted, towers fell, the world shook. The people screamed in the tunnels. Above ground, blue light flared. The human shields caught the worst of it. Sparks scattered like stars. The shield groaned but held. "Return fire," the leader said. White lances shot upward. Human weapons were smaller, slower, but each shot carried precision. The first enemy craft burst like a rotten fruit, scattering fire across the sky. Then another fell. Then a third. The humans fought like they had done this 1,000 times. Koa could not look away. He watched a woman in armor kneel by a launcher. She breathed slow, aimed steady, and fired. Her missile twisted upward, weaving between red beams, then slammed into the belly of a warship. The explosion painted the sky. The people in the tunnels heard it and for the first time shouted not in fear, but in awe. But the enemy was many. Their ships circled wide, spitting fire from every angle. A section of the shield cracked. Blue sparks rained down. The humans shifted, filling gaps, dragging wounded back, pushing new batteries forward. One enemy craft broke through and descended low, engines screaming. Its weapons opened, ready to tear through the tunnels below. Koa felt his chest freeze. He shouted, "They will kill us!" The human leader did not flinch. He gave one sharp order. "Now!" From the rubble of an old factory, hidden charges erupted. Fire blossomed upward, wrapping the enemy ship. It spun, screaming, then fell in a pillar of smoke. The ground shook as it crashed. Dust rolled through, the ruins like a wave. The people in the tunnels cried out, but their fear turned to stunned silence when they saw the enemy wreck burning outside. They had seen their world broken many times, but never had they seen the wolves fall so close. Still, the battle was not over. The enemy poured more fire, their numbers pressing hard. Human rifles grew hot. Shields dimmed. The leader's voice cut through the storm. "Hold, hold." Koa stood frozen by the tunnel entrance, heart hammering. Then he saw something. 2 children had slipped out, drawn by the noise, standing in open light. An enemy drone swept low, its red eye glowing, ready to strike. Koa's legs moved before thought. He ran, grabbed the children and pulled them back. The drone fired, scorching the wall beside him. He stumbled, fell. The drone turned for another shot. A human soldier leaped between them, shield raised. The beam struck the shield, scattering. Sparks. The soldier fired once. The drone shattered in the air. He turned and hauled Koa and the children behind cover. "Stay down," he said simply, then rushed back into the fire. Koa's hands shook as he held the children close. He looked at the humans fighting and felt something he had not felt in months. Not just survival, not just waiting for death. He felt the edge of hope. The enemy pressed harder. More ships came, black wings blotting the sky. The humans fell back to tighter lines, drawing the enemy into narrow streets where big ships could not aim. Mines exploded under enemy walkers. Tripwires cut drones from the air. Every step the enemy took forward cost them blood and fire. The battle raged for hours. Smoke choked the sky, hiding the sun. The ruins burned, walls collapsing one after another. But the humans stood. Every time the enemy thought they had broken the line, the humans struck from another angle. Every time, it seemed the shields would fall. Another power cell flared to life. Finally, as dusk bled into night, the enemy ships pulled back. They circled once, fired one last volley, then retreated into the clouds. The sound of their engines faded until only the crackle of fire remained. Silence returned. But it was not the silence of death. It was the silence after a storm. The people crawled out of the tunnels. They looked at the ruins, then at the humans still standing, weapons lowered but eyes sharp. They saw enemy wrecks burning in the streets. They saw the impossible. Victory. Elder Sira raised her voice clear in the night. Today, we were not forgotten. Today, we were not abandoned. The humans did not cheer. They only checked their weapons, counted their dead, and prepared for the next wave. The leader spoke once more, his voice like iron. This was only the beginning. They will come again. Stronger. But so will we. Koa looked at him, at the smoke, at the people who dared to stand above ground once more. For the first time in his life, he believed. The forgotten world was no longer only surviving, it was fighting. Night came heavy after the first battle. Fires glowed in the ruins, sending smoke up into the black sky. The people of the tunnels came out in small groups. They touched the broken enemy machines as if they could not believe they were real. Children pressed their hands against the cold metal wings. Elders whispered prayers of thanks. The humans did not rest. They moved through the city with steady steps, checking wounded, repairing shields, setting new traps. Their faces were tired but not broken. To them, this victory was not an end. It was only one step. Koa followed the human leader as he walked across the rubble. The leader's armor was scorched. His helmet carried dents, but his eyes were sharp. He stopped at the ruined tower and looked up at the stars. Koa asked the question that burned in everyone's mind. "Why did you come? All others left us. The Alliance said we were not worth the risk. Why risk your lives here?" The leader's gaze did not shift from the sky. His voice was calm, low. "Because abandonment spreads like a disease. One world left behind becomes 10. 10 become 100. We have seen it before, we will not watch it again." Koa frowned. "But humans are young. You have few fleets. Why take this burden?" The leader finally looked at him. There was a fire in his eyes, not loud but steady. "Because strength is not only numbers, it is will. When others count resources, we count people, and no people deserve to be erased." Koa stood silent. The words were simple, but they carried weight deeper than weapons. In the tunnels, Elder Sira gathered the survivors. She told them what the humans had said. Some believed, some doubted. One miner spoke with anger. "If humans fight here, the enemy will return in greater waves. Their wrath will burn us all." Sira's voice was calm. "Yes, but the fire is already upon us. With humans, we burn standing. Without them, we burn kneeling." The room fell quiet. Even those who doubted could not answer that truth. The next day, human engineers walked with the people through the tunnels. They asked questions. How deep were the shafts? How strong the stone? Where did water flow? The people were surprised. No Alliance officer had ever asked these things. The Alliance only demanded tribute. One human woman touched the wall and said, "This stone is strong. It can be carved into defense chambers. We will show you how." Another taught children how to place simple traps with wires and glass shards. The children listened with wide eyes, feeling like warriors for the first time. Koa worked beside them, helping to fix radios. A human soldier leaned over him, showing how to strengthen the signal with pieces of enemy wreckage. "Their machines are fragile," the soldier said. "Use them against them." Koa laughed for the first time in many months. Far above, in the black void, the enemy gathered. Commanders watched the reports. They saw their drones fall, their ships destroyed. Their voices hissed across channels. This should not be. That world was weak, forgotten. How do they resist? One commander spoke the word that chilled the others. Humans. The room grew quiet. For years, the enemy had heard stories of humans, too stubborn, too reckless, too willing to bleed. They were a young race, yet their wars burned hotter than old empires. No commander liked facing such fire. "We will crush them," another said, but his voice lacked strength. "We will send more." "Send more," the first agreed, though unease darkened his eyes. On the ground, the humans prepared. They set up signal towers, not to call for rescue, but to guide something greater. Koa asked, "Are you waiting for your fleet?" The leader shook his head. "Not a fleet, a promise. You will see." That night, storms rolled across the horizon. Lightning split the clouds, thunder shook the ruins. The people huddled in tunnels, but the humans stood on the walls of broken towers watching. They looked like statues carved from iron, waiting. Koa climbed up beside them. Rain struck his face, cold and sharp. He asked, "Do you never fear?" The leader answered simply, "Fear is natural. It sharpens the blade. But despair dulls it. We fear, we never despair." Before dawn, the enemy came again. This time larger ships filled the sky, black and vast. Their engines howled like beasts. The people cried out. The humans raised their weapons. The leader spoke, voice steady as stone. Positions. Hold your ground. The first blasts shook the shield lines. Fire poured like rain. Towers crumbled, but the humans did not break. They fought street by street, roof by roof. The enemy pressed, but every step cost them blood. In the chaos, a human soldier was struck, shield shattered. Koa ran to drag him back. The soldier, bleeding, gripped Koa's arm. "Do not waste time," he said. "Help the others." Koa shook his head. "We do not abandon." The soldier smiled through pain. "Then you are learning." The battle raged until the first light of morning broke. The enemy pulled back again, leaving smoking wrecks behind. The humans stood bloodied, armor cracked but unbroken. When the sun rose, the people gathered above ground. They looked at the humans not as strangers, not as saviors, but as allies. Children mimicked their stances, pretending to hold rifles. Women brought water to wash their wounds. Elders touched their armor as if touching hope itself. Sira spoke to the leader. "You fight like this world is your own. Yet it is not. Why give so much?" The leader's face softened. He looked at the survivors around him. "Because no one is forgotten if we remember. And because one day when our world is abandoned, we will hope someone does the same for us." That night, the relay tower blinked with a new signal. Not from the enemy, not from the Alliance, but from deep space. The humans read it and smiled for the first time. "What is it?" Koa asked. The leader answered, voice low but firm. "It is the promise. Reinforcements are coming. Not a fleet. Something else. Something the enemy will never expect." The people leaned closer, hearts pounded. For the first time, they dared to imagine not just survival, but victory. Above, in the black, the enemy prepared their largest strike yet, and far beyond them, through the silent void, human engines roared, carrying something unseen toward the forgotten world. The night before the final strike, the world was quiet. Too quiet. The stars above glowed cold and sharp, like watchful eyes. The people in the tunnels slept lightly, waking at every echo. Mothers held children closer. Fathers kept tools like weapons in their hands. Everyone knew what was coming. The humans did not sleep. They stood watch on the broken towers, armor glinting faint in the moonlight. Their eyes scanned the horizon, waiting. Their leader stood among them, still and patient. He did not speak of fear. He spoke only of readiness. Koa climbed up to the tower where the leader stood. "They will come with all they have," he said. "Yes," the leader answered. "And so will we," Koa frowned. We have no fleets, no weapons like yours. We are broken people." The leader's gaze was steady. "You are not broken. You endured when no one came. You endured when others ran. Endurance is strength. Strength is not only weapons, it is will. And tomorrow, the galaxy will see your will." At dawn, the sky darkened with shadows. Enemy ships filled the horizon, larger than before. Dozens. Hundreds. Their black hulls blocked the sun. Their engines roared like storms. The ground shook under their power. The people in the tunnels felt terror rise. But when they looked upward, they saw humans already moving into positions, calm, steady. They saw shields rising, guns ready. They saw warriors who did not bend. The leader raised his voice strong enough to cut through the fear. This world was abandoned. Today it rises. With us. With you. Fight not for survival only. Fight for tomorrow. The people, for the first time, stood beside the humans. Farmers carried picks. Miners carried drills. Children too young to fight carried water and stones. They would not hide this time. They would rise. The first enemy wave struck. Fire poured down, scorching earth, breaking stone. but the shields flared blue, holding strong. Human weapons roared upward, striking true. Enemy ships exploded in blooms of fire. Koa and others threw stones and burning oil at drones that slipped through. Miners rigged tunnels to collapse under enemy walkers. Women pulled the wounded back, binding them with strips of cloth. The city was no longer silent. It was alive with resistance.